Have you ever felt like the world is just too loud, to the point where all you want is to shut it all off and retreat into silence? Have you grown tired of having to listen to too many people, not just their voices but their expectations, judgments and emotional baggage? If you've ever wished you could ignore it all just to regain a moment of peace, then maybe it's time you learn the art of selective silence. Let's start with a simple question. What's the loudest sound you've ever heard? Maybe it was the deafening crack of thunder during a storm, a booming rock concert, or the piercing roar of a jet engine taking off. But interestingly enough, none of those can truly compare to the noise created by people. Not necessarily the sound of their voices, but the weight of their opinions, the pressure of their expectations, the swirl of their personal chaos and drama. The truth is, we live in a world that never stops talking, one that constantly pulls you into conversations, arguments, distractions, and demands your attention around the clock. And if you don't learn how to tune out the majority of it, it will eventually drown you. But don't get this message wrong. This video is not about becoming rude, cold, or emotionally disconnected. It's not an encouragement to isolate yourself from others. On the contrary, it's about survival. It's a critical life skill that helps you protect your focus, your energy, and your inner peace in a world that's always trying to rob you of those things. This is about mastering the art of ignoring people, not because you believe you're better than anyone else, but because you owe it to yourself to focus on what truly matters. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the noise, if you've ever just wanted to hit mute on the world and finally breathe, then this video is for you. We talked about why ignoring people isn't cold, it's a survival skill. Now it's time to get practical. How do you actually apply this in your everyday life? A good person is not someone who says yes to everything. A good person is someone who knows their limits, who respects their own time and energy, and who has the courage to say no when needed. And yes, sometimes that means ignoring people. The art of selective attention. So how do you ignore people without feeling like a jerk? The key is selective attention. This doesn't mean shutting out the entire world, it means choosing who and what deserves your focus. Here's how. 1. Identify the noise makers. Not everyone affects you the same way. Some people are like pleasant background music, you barely notice them, and they don't interfere with your peace. But others, they're like an air horn in a library, loud, jarring, impossible to ignore. Start by identifying who falls into which category. Take a moment to think. Who drains your energy? Who constantly seeks attention? Who thrives on drama and negativity? These are your noise makers. You don't always have to cut them out, but you absolutely need to set boundaries. To set boundaries like a pro. Boundaries aren't cruel. They're clear. They're your way of saying, this is what I accept, this is what I won't, and you don't need to justify them. Your boundaries are for you, not for their approval. For example, if a co-worker loves to gossip, you might say, I'm not really into office drama, that thanks for sharing. Or if a friend keeps venting but never listens to advice, try, I care about you, but I'm not in the right mindset to talk about this right now. Be firm but kind. You're not rejecting the person, you're rejecting the behavior that harms your peace. 3. Master the polite brush off. Sometimes ignoring someone outright just isn't possible. Maybe it's your boss, your parent, or someone you see daily. That's where the polite brush off becomes your best friend. You acknowledge them without engaging. If someone tries to bait you into pointless arguments, say, that's an interesting take, and change the subject. If they demand too much, I'll get to it when I can, and move on. The goal isn't to shut people down, it's to redirect your energy back to where it matters most. 4. Embrace the power of silence. Silence is an underrated weapon in the art of ignoring. When someone says something offensive, dramatic, or ridiculous, you don't have to respond. Just let the silence linger. It sends a powerful message. You're not playing the game. And often, that silence is enough to make them back off. Now that you've learned to set boundaries and protect your attention, it's time to look inward toward defending your mental space, the place where your peace truly begins. Let's say someone throws a passive-aggressive comment about your choices. Instead of defending yourself or getting pulled into a pointless argument, you simply smile and say, "Nothing." Let the silence hang. It speaks louder than words. 5. Protect your mental space. Ignoring people isn't just about what you do, it's also about what you choose not to do. It's about defending your inner peace from unnecessary distractions. This means curating your social media, limiting your exposure to overwhelming news, and creating spaces where you can disconnect and recharge. Imagine your mind as a fortress. You wouldn't leave the gates wide open for just anyone to walk in, right? So why do we do that with our attention? When you become intentional about what you let in, you build a mental environment that's calmer, more focused, and more productive. Here's the best part. Learning to ignore people is freeing. When you stop letting others' noise control your life, you take your power back. You stop operating on autopilot and start living with clarity and intention. You stop reacting and start creating. And with practice, it gets easier. What once felt awkward or impolite starts to feel natural. You begin to realize that you don't owe anyone your time or energy, not your nosy neighbor, not your toxic coworker, and not even your overly involved family member. Your attention is a gift, and you alone decide who deserves it. And here's the beautiful ripple effect. When you begin to ignore people the right way, not only do you become more focused and peaceful, but others start to notice. They respect your boundaries. They stop treating you like an emotional dumping ground. And some of them, they even start mirroring your behavior. It's like tossing a stone into a pond. The ripples extend far beyond the center. You may not control how people respond, but you do control the stone. You control your choice to let go of the noise and live on your terms. So, here's the truth. Ignoring people isn't cold. It's conscious. It's realizing that your time, energy, and attention are finite and you have every right to guard them. You don't need permission. You don't need a perfect moment. You can start right now in this very breath. So the next time someone pulls you into drama, negativity, or noise, breathe, smile, and let it go. Because you've got better things to focus on. After everything, you've learned how to identify the noise, set boundaries, master silence, and guard your mental space. There's one simple truth you must always remember. The world will always be noisy. The opinions, the pressure, the drama, they're never going away. But here's the thing, you don't have to listen. You don't have to let the outside chaos enter your inner calm. You have the power to choose peace in a world that constantly screams for your attention. Sometimes, the most powerful act is doing nothing, saying nothing, simply letting the noise pass. Thank you so much for watching. If you found value in this video and want to see more, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. I'll see you in the next one.